This is Unreal Berserker here, doing another deck profile of Worms. Worms is a new deck that is becoming really competitive due to a new card release, Nebula Meteor. It is a common and extreme victory, so pick them up while you can, because Worms are going to become a meta deck, in my opinion. It's right up there with Little City as far as how good they are, just because they plus like crazy, and I'm going to go over the deck and show you just what they do. First off, we have 3 Worms X, first +1 of the deck. When it's normal summoned, you can send a reptile from your deck to the graveyard. You're going to want to send Yagen, because Yagen's effect is if Zex is the only monster on your side of the field, you can special summon Yagen face down. And Yagen is a Gravekeeper's Guard, as in he can bounce a card when it's flipped, making him really easy to gain advantage off of that. And also, they both help abuse Nebula Meteor, which I will go over. And to help get that combo off, I have 3 Worm Cartaros, searches out Zex, or Yagen if I happen to run out of Zexes. He can also search for himself if I don't want them, if I already have them in my hand, or I just don't want or I just want to keep floating monsters for some reason. But anyway, his main use is again to float to Zex and also to abuse Nebula Meteor and offering to the Snake Deity. I'll explain those in a sec. 2 Worm Kings abuse Nebula Meteor. Nebula Meteor special summons a its last effect is to special summon a monster, a level 7 or higher reptile monster. And King is just your best bet because of the fact that he only requires 1 tribute but is an 8-star, meaning he won't be a dead draw if you happen to draw into him. 1 Evil Dragon Ananta. I only run 1 because, well, I was only able to get my hands on 1. And 2, I feel like 1 is actually probably your best bet now that I think about it. Because, basically, I'm not running the Stumbling build, which means I can't create like a semi-lock that Stumbling and Evil Dragon provides. So it's just a random beat stick out of nowhere and can +1 at your every end phase. So it's just a good surprise card to run in this deck with this many reptiles. Next, 3 Ryo. I happen to have 3, so I might as well run them. It's light, so it works with Honest quite well as with my other worms. Shuts down opponent plays. It interferes with Cartaros, but a smart player, again, doesn't activate Surge cards while Ryo's on the field. So I try to get my opponent to waste their resources. This is also a pretty back row heavy deck, meaning Ryo has plenty of protection, meaning he can become a real pain in the ass for the opponent. Next up, the huge spell count of a whole 3 cards. Just the basic staples. I shouldn't really have to explain these. Book, Reborn, and Dark Hole. I'll explain why I'm not running MST once I get to the trap. Alright, here's the traps. Huge ass amount of traps. This is a back row deck if I ever saw one. We'll start it off. 3 Nebula Meteors. Amazingly broken card in this deck. Basically, the combo is one of 2 things. I'm either going to have a Cartaros or a Zex. One of these 2, first turn. It's pretty easy, right? Alright, so basically, I can either summon Zex, grab Yagen, and set Nebula Meteor along with probably 4 other back row cards. Because that's just how this deck is. So anyway, Nebula flips, flipping my face down monster face up. Now if that was Cartaros instead of my combo, Cartaros would flip, searching out my combo for next turn. And then if it's already the Zex and Yagen flips, bounce an opponent's monster. So I'll just chain this to their normal summon. And then anyway, after this card activates, then the real effects kicks in at the end phase of this card activates. And that is to, first of all, flip all reptiles back face down and draw a card for each card flipped face down by this effect. So that just replaced my 2 monsters, and Yagen was already a +1 plus the bouncing effect, stalling my opponent off. So that really will set my opponent off and help me gain insane advantage. And then the last effect after drawing is to special summon a level 7 or higher reptile from my deck. and that would be, well, Worm King. I cannot search Ananta due to the fact that Ananta is a Nami, so cannot special use Ananta, unfortunately. Otherwise, I'd probably be running 3. Anyway, so Nebula Meteor abused my flip effects, replaces my worms, and then replaces itself with a 27 beat stake with a pretty decent effect. That's a pretty broken card, if I have to say so myself. And that's like the heart of the deck. If I can somehow search out that card, then this deck would be so much better. Anyway, next off, 3 Icarus attack. Offering to the Snake Deity. It's the same thing, except it's for reptiles, and the fact that destroying your own monster is not a cost. This means 2 things. 1, if offering is negated, I do not lose my monster. And 2, it does not work on my own face-down reptiles. So I cannot set cartaros. My opponent summons something like that can get rid of cartaros without flipping it. I'll flip offering. That doesn't work. The idea here is what I can do is I can go Nebula, flip it, get the search, and then offering. In that order. So, offering, good card. You should all know why Icarus is limited to 2. This is just a slightly worse version of it, but it's still a great card to run in a back row, such a control deck like this. 2 bottomless, because I'm poor. 3D prison, because I used to play Machina, as in I have the 3 Machina structures. And this is just the bulk of, well, the back row. Makes my opponent think twice before attacking or summoning a big monster. And just removes a whole lot of shit. Next up, 2 7 tools. I'm running these over MST because this is a much more reactive deck, if I guess you should say. As in, I want my opponent to flip over their powerful trap cards against my monsters, so I can negate that powerful trap card. I don't want to just blind MST into hoping that I hit the right one. I want to make sure that card that's going to stop my combos is shut down. Even if it's at the cost of 1,000 life points, it's something I can deal with. Next, we have 2 compulsory evacuation device. More bouncing over, including Jagen. Sets off my opponent for a turn. Bouncing synchros makes it even. And just more back row to upset my opponent. Oppression, staple any kind of huge any kind of deck that doesn't special summon a lot. Especially due to the fact that Jagen is similar to Vayu in the fact that it can just keep trying to special summon itself if my opponent oppressions it, which is really good. Solemn, staple. Torrential, staple. Marafor, staple. Dust Shoot, Mind Crush. I have a huge back row. I might as well run these just to help fill in the space and the fact that it can be really good against the right deck and the right intuition as far as Mind Crush goes. Dust Shoot is just sort of a luck sack card. If you draw it first turn, you're gonna kind of win. Anyway, that is my Worm deck, and I might even be running this at YCS Orlando. I'm pretty sure a few other people will be as well. And let's hope Worms do something in this meta. This is Berserker. Peace out.